Good morning, everyone. Today, we have a very special treat. We want to honor a special woman. We want to honor Mother's Day by honoring a mom for her courage, resilience, and determination. And as she once told me, she has 9 lives. So today we're going to hear about her 9 lives. A Holocaust survivor, someone that taught me how to give back and how to bring back life with a smile. So Faye Holand, known to her friends at Tzippy, welcome.
Thank you very much. My pleasure and my honor.
No, it's an honor to have you here, and we can all learn about all your journey and what you have been through. So you want to start with your first life?
Yes. So I was born in Siberia in 1940, July 27, 1940. And of course, Siberia at the time, that's where they sent all the prisoners and war criminals and the Jews. Luckily, my parents were sent there, so I was born. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been here. So when I was like a year old, I had the typhus, which usually you just die from it, but I didn't. Then I got malaria, which is also very, very, very dangerous sickness, and I didn't die from that. To make a long story a little shorter, in 1945, Stalin said to the Jews, you have to leave the country or become communists, which my parents would never do. So we left the country and we came back to Poland when my parents were from to look for relatives that survived, of course, knowing nobody survived. Sorry?
It was the end of the war, 1945.
Yes, yes. And so we went to my parents' town lodge, but nobody survived. Like everybody else, they didn't know what to do. And the only way to go to Israel was because we didn't have any papers, and I didn't even have a birth certificate. We have to go through the Alps at night without certification to Italy, and then to Austria or Germany, and from there to get on a boat to Israel. Well, of course, my parents said they're not going to take a 5-year-old schlepping all over the mountains. At the same time, Israel was under the mandate of the English, and they decided that they will allow children from the Holocaust from Europe to come to Israel. The Haganah, which was before the Israeli army, the Haganah sent representatives to all the big cities in Europe. One came to my parents' town in Lodz, and my parents, since I had an aunt that went to Israel before World War II, my parents said, well, we'll send her to your aunt Hannah in Tel Aviv. And so began my journey. I went with them.
By
and
yourself?
Here comes, yes, by myself with other kids, with a group of kids. And here comes my third life. As we got to Germany, of course, I developed a double,
Chickenpox.
what's it called?
Chickenpox?
No, the throat, double mumps, sorry. It doesn't exist anymore, so it's hard to remember. Double mumps, which not only dangerous, it's also contagious. So guess what? I was left in Germany in the hospital, which is Eschwegen by Kassel. I even remember the address, the place. That's how much how it left like a wound in my heart. And they continued to Israel. My parents wrote to my aunt. She said the child didn't come. Nobody knew where I am because they did not send information to my parents that I am in the hospital. make a long story short, when I
Wait, stop a little bit. Stop a little
yes,
bit because you're going a little too fast. And this
yeah,
is really
sorry,
important.
yes,
At that time, you didn't get to Israel and your parents didn't know that you had stayed behind in Germany.
right.
Who did you stay behind with?
I stayed in the hospital, and then when I got better, the hospital had an orphanage downstairs. So they sent me downstairs to the orphanage with a group of kids, other kids that were also left there for whatever reason. And that's how I ended up in Germany.
How long were you there?
So according to my memory, it was a couple of years, like 2 years, because I was a child. Time was endless, so but that's what I found out later, that it's true. So they shaved my head and all the heads of all the kids that were there. They weren't going to wash us or clean us or feed us very well. I was skinny and shaved head, but at the photo that they took from us, the Germans were very good with photography. I'm sitting there and I'm smiling, like, why? I guess it was in my nature to believe in love and in hope and never give up. I already as a child, I don't understand where it came from, but that's what it was.
So you had
And
always a smile. How
always.
did they find you?
Okay, so now, in the meantime, my younger end, my mom's younger sister that was with us in Germany, in Russia, and took care of me, got married to my uncle Abraham, which I met before I left Poland. And he was one of the agents for the Jewish joint, Jewish international national whatever for children. And he went over Europe, all over Europe, to look for children that were abandoned or were lost. One day, the door to the orphanage opens, and who do I see? My uncle Avram. I screamed, and I think I caught him by the belt, and my hand was wrapped around his belt even to go to the bathroom. I was told later that it took about 3 or 4 days to open my fist because it like froze. He had to take off his belt, and I walked around with the belt until they opened it.
Did he
And I was
recognize you?
sorry.
Did he recognize you?
Yes, of course, immediately.
Okay.
So now our journey began to where my parents were, which I didn't know. They arrived in Austria, in Salzburg, in a DP camp. My parents thought that I'm gone. My mother was expecting, she was in her 6th month expecting a baby. And he brought me to Austria, to Salzburg. And when they found out that I'm alive, my mother was running down the stairs and lost the baby, and it was a boy. So I'm an only child. What do you want to know next?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you just gave me the chills because they brought back a daughter and they lost another child.
Yeah.
So you were in Austria more or less when you were 7 years old
Yes.
with your parents now.
Yes.
I can't even begin to understand what that had to be.
Okay, so
And
we
then-
were, sorry.
Well, and then what happened?
Okay, so we were in a DP camp in Salzburg, it's Salzburg. And when we were inside the DP camp, all the other people were just like us. The children were like me. We learned English. We learned a little Hebrew. We would go to school. But every once in a while, my father, who was a very intelligent, elegant, and sophisticated man from those years, would go out. We would go out of the DP camp and we'll go to concerts and to museums and all the cultural stuff. And in those years, Salzburg, which is Mozart's home, was their place for culture. And we used to go out there from the DP camp. I used to hear people yelling, kids yelling, "Schmutzige Jude, Schmutzige Jude." And I would say to my dad, that means dirty Jew. And I washed. Why am I dirty? I couldn't understand. I washed maybe twice a day. And my dad said, no, it's just like a slang. It doesn't mean anything. It took many years for me to understand what it meant. And then in 1949, finally in March of 1949, we got the papers to go to Israel. And my aunt waited for us in Haifa. Make a long story short, we landed there. I was there in the first Yom Ha'atzmaut, the first Independence Day of Israel in May of 1949. I wanted to go see the parade, and my parents said, go. It's down the street. And I said, what do you mean go? They said, you're free. You can go wherever you want. You don't have to be afraid. And I said, what do you mean I don't have to? I didn't understand the concept
Of being
free. And I went, and then they signed me up in a all for girl yeshiva talpiot. And when I came home after a couple of days, I said to my parents, you know, in Yiddish, because they didn't speak Hebrew, alles that a dush Jude. Everybody here is a dirty Jew. The butcher, the school teacher, the store owner, the street cleaner, the bus driver. They said to me, no, it's not. That was what they called us, dirty Jews. Over here, we are free.
That's when you understood what
Oh
it
my
was
God.
about.
Oh my God. I think I never forgot that day. As long as I live, I'm going to remember that day. Because for a child of 8.5, I wasn't even 9 yet, because I would have been 9 in July. Not to be afraid. From then on, all my life, I taught everybody and I told everybody, fear paralyzes you. You cannot be afraid of anything. Of course, we're not stupid. We're not going to cross the street in front of a car and not be afraid. I'm talking about being afraid of life, being afraid of to do things, being afraid of trying and doing. I jumped out of a plane when I was 72 years old. My kids were like, are you crazy?
Oh my
I
God,
did what?
that's
Yes,
amazing.
yes,
72
yes.
years old?
72 years old in tandem. I didn't tell anybody because they wouldn't have let me. But when I later on, I went white water rafting. I did bungee jumping in Poland. I did in Costa Rica, the line.
Zip line.
Yeah. I mean, I cannot remember anything that I did. Parasailing. I mean, I don't remember anything I didn't do, but of course now I'm older, so there are a couple of things I wouldn't do. I wouldn't jump out of a plane again. But I am not afraid. I never was afraid, and nobody's going to make me afraid. And everybody around the world now is so scared of what's happening. And I'm saying, you don't understand. The fear will stop you from making changes in the world. Stop being afraid. That's not a solution. I said to my grandchildren and to my kids, but especially my grandchildren, I leave you a message. I leave you the flag and the torch. Change the world. Change it, because otherwise it will destroy itself. Because all we know is fear, jealousy, greed, hate. Why? Why? Do you understand what would happen if everybody just worried about himself, his life, lived quietly his life, and helped the neighbor, which is like what it says in the 10 Commandments? I mean, how small is this action compared in what it would do for the world?
I think
I have to
that's the
stop for a
biggest
second.
lesson that you can leave us with. And I'm not letting you go yet.
Yes, I just had to rest for a second.
No.
Then I'll tell you about what happened when I came to America.
So that was your 4th or 5th life.
Yes. So then I came to America with my husband. His parents were here. And my husband was working and lost the sight of one eye. And he said to me when I came to the hospital to visit him, I promised your parents I'll always take care of you. I can't, so I want to die. And I said, okay. We had already a daughter, Sharon, our oldest, was 10 months old. I took him by the hand. I said, let's go to the window. I want to show you something. We went to the window and I said, open the window, let's jump. And he says to me, you crazy? I said, you're crazy. You want to leave me in a strange land with strange people, with a 10 months old baby, alone? No. You want to die? I'll die with you. It's on you. Of course, he didn't. And he became one of the biggest contractors of heating and air conditioning and sprinklers in Manhattan. He built 7 floors underneath the memorial building of the Twin Towers, all the heating and air conditioning in that building and a lot of other buildings. I was lucky to be allowed to go down with him and see his work. It was absolutely incredible. In I have to stop for a second. In 2005, we visited Israel. We went with my whole family all over Europe every year because I lost too many cousins, 2 cousins at a very young age. And I said, we have to go and meet once a year and travel with them. And this is all I have left. And we went to Israel. Well, this was in 2005. In 2000, so we went and we had a great time and everything was terrific. In 2013, I was working in the hotel industry. I came home on a Thursday and I said to my husband, I love roast beef sandwiches, but of course they're very hard to digest. I said to my husband, I ate something, I'm not feeling well. It feels like something is pressing on my heart. And I took something, a pill or something, that I went to sleep. My husband, and that was Thursday. Friday, the 21st of October, was Erev Sukkot. So my husband said, you know what, we'll go. I'll go with you. We'll go in the morning. We'll stay already by the kids for Sukkot. I went to sleep. He called my kids, which are Adina, Dr. Keller, Adina, is a robotic OBGYN surgeon. My daughter Sharon is a certified nutritionist. And my son-in-law is children ear, nose, and throat specialist. When he called them, they already prepared. They knew something is not right. In the morning, it was raining, and usually he was not home, even already at 6 o'clock. He was home. He said, you're not going because you're not going to drive. I know you. You have an appointment with Dr. Lev, who is Dr. Leib, who's like a heart. The name is Heart. And I'm taking you. I went into the car. I don't remember anything else. I woke up. I was in his office. He said to me, what's happening? I said, somebody's putting a brick from the front. It's coming out from the back. I threw up and I woke up 5 days later. I had an aortic, my main aorta rupture. That's an aneurysm that you could immediately die from. There is no aneurysm from the main aorta that somebody survives. Fortunately, I was told later that the aorta is made out of 3 levels, and mine was the middle level, the middle one that ruptured. So it was only pressure on my heart, but not blood. And that's why I survived. When I woke up, I heard, I'm hearing noises in my this, and I'm looking at people standing by my bed, and I don't understand. I'm tied down with my arms and legs to a bed, with a tube in my mouth that I try to put out, and all these people are looking at me, and I hear them say, she's waking up, she's waking up. And I woke up.
And you had no idea.
Unfortunately, I didn't know who I
No,
am,
I
who
think
they are.
fortunately that you had
Yes.
no idea what had happened
No,
to you.
and who these people are. I was back because in my unconsciousness, the doctor's name was a German name, the doctor that operated on me. So in my subconscious, I was back in Germany in the
In the war.
in the home, and everybody was a German. And they took me to psychiatrist, and they tried to make me well. And she said, used to say to me, everyone, tell me your story. And I said, I know my story. You have 10 years to listen to my story. I know what my story is. I want to know how to get well. Make a long story short, we had bought an apartment in Miami, in Sunny Isle in 2005. We furnished it and everything. And finally, everybody used to say to me, so when are you going to be okay? How long are you going to play this game?
But wait,
One day, a game.
I know your story, but a lot of people are not understanding that in that time you had a total memory loss.
Yes, completely.
That part is that what I want to clarify.
Yes.
That when you asked, when am I going to get well, it's because you had a total memory loss.
I didn't recognize my husband, my kids, anybody, and myself. I only knew I am 5.5 years old in the orphanage.
That's
and
all you
everybody,
remember?
that's what I felt, that I'm in Germany. And when they took me out of the hospital, I saw everybody German running after me. I mean, they're all German. See, and the highway patrolmen till today, because they are dressed like the Nazis, the hat, the boots, the thing on the this. When I see a highway patrolman, when I'm driving, that's why I don't drive on highways. I freeze. I start to shake. I can't go anywhere because those are Germans. So I came to Florida, make a long story short again, I decided I'm gonna free myself. You wanted to ask me something?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, how did you gain your memory back? What was the whole recovery?
Okay. So I said to myself, it's some kind of a fear. Even in my 5.5-year-old brain, I remember the fear. And I said to my husband, bring me to Florida, bring me to the apartment, take care of me, leave me food and everything, and go home. I don't want you to be here. I want to do it myself. Since my apartment is on the ocean, I sat every morning on the balcony with my coffee. The first day I wrote everything that I feel. If it was bad or good or cursing, everything I felt, I wrote down on the paper. The next day I read what I wrote. The third day I tore it up into pieces, flushed it down the toilet. I said, this is okay. This you cleaned out. And so I did for a year. For
by
a
yourself?
year.
You were there by yourself?
Well, I had friends there, Mike and Naomi Dezer, who my friends, I know Mike since we were kids in Israel, and a lot of friends that I met him, but he was running a hotel. And when I started to get better, I said, you know what? I want to work, but I don't want to work really, he said to me, come and manage the hotel. I said, Mike, I don't want to manage. I want to work for my heart, because I have a hole in my heart. I have to fill it somehow. What else can I do? He introduced me to FIDF. I started to work for FIDF.
FIDF, I have to explain because there's a lot of people that are listening to us.
Yes.
Israel Defense
Friends of the Israeli Defense Forces.
Forces.
Yes. And I started to work with a group that is taking children for 4 years for college, paying $4,000 a year for 4 years through their college, for their food and for their housing and for the school. And they have to be either one parent or a little bit incapable of helping themselves. And they have to give while they're going to school, they have to give community service, and they have to be from like a Golani or a group of the army that is very, very tough, the toughest ones. Once we select these kids, we offer them 4 years of complete,
College.
yeah. So that was, oh my God. It was the most beautiful thing that I felt, oh my God, I am giving back. I'm helping. I feel like these kids were my kids, like I was a kid. And I grew more and more. I became the head of this part of the organization. And then they made me Woman of the Year, in a big ceremony that was like a few thousand people, and it was just amazing. And then I started to feel it's not exactly what I want to do, because it's not hand on hand. It's not, I don't know most of the people. I don't touch them I need to be with my hand on them and with my heart with them.
But you changed a lot of the lives by giving this kids.
Yes, but it
an
wasn't enough.
education.
It wasn't enough. We built through the FIDF. I built the room in the hospital in the Negev. I adopted Golani 17. They were the whole group, which is a lot of soldiers. I did a lot of things with that, true, but I still didn't feel good enough. So at one point I decided that with they're all good groups, but there's too much overhead, because there's an office, there's people working, there's overhead. And I said, the overhead is too big for me. I want the whole money, maybe 1% should be for overhead for me, because I don't take any money, but I need an office. I need somebody to help me. And I took one of my best friends and really a especially young man, Dor Mishulam, to work for me. And he does all the work, but I'm behind the scenes and I'm telling him where I want the money to go and how. So we started a group called the Bridge of Love. Bridge of Love is to bridge all the people with love. So we started to work with children that, are special needs children, the Jewish community, which is the Shoah, that people are not helping anymore. Some of them are starving. Slowly, the group grew. We did a lot of work, and my heart started to fill up.
Now
What
it
else?
started to fill up.
Yes.
With special needs children.
Yes. And with the survivors, the Holocaust survivors that are maybe at least 100, if not more, in Miami. And you know what? And it's not only giving them money and giving them food. It's calling them, talking to them. You know how lonely a person can get alone, and they think that nobody cares for them. And a lot of them don't have kids anymore. Their kids didn't survive them. And a lot of them are here, and their families are in Israel or in Europe or somewhere, to help them remember who they are and that we remember them. It's a big mitzvah.
That is so important.
Yeah.
Of what
Love
you're
is important.
doing. And you have taught us so many lessons of determination, of giving back, of love. And
Thank
like you said, if everybody would give back like a little bit, 1% of what you're giving back, we would live in another place.
Thank you.
I know we
That's
need to eliminate hate. And Tzippy, I have to say that this has been an honor.
Thank you.
For Mother's Day.
Thank you.
I am blessed to have met you.
Thank you. I want to mention my daughters and my son-in-law and my kids.
Yes,
So
please.
Can I please? Yes.
Of course.
So I have my oldest daughter is Sharon. That's the one that was 10 months old. My younger daughter is Adina Keller. She's a robotic surgeon, as I mentioned. Her husband, my son, is Jeff Keller. I have Evan, who is my 30-year-old this year. My grandson, who is works for Apple. I mean, he's like incredibly. All of them. Then I have the twins who are going to be 26, Nicole and Zach. Nikki is she has a master's in she works with children with disabilities, musical therapy. Zach is an accomplished movie maker. I mean, he's just he got the gift of gab. And then I have Justin, who is 2 days ago finished University of Michigan with honors, who is incredibly great. And my last one is Tyler, who is in Duke University, has 2 more years to finish. I am blessed. And then I have Dror Meshulam, who I adopted as a son, because without him, at my age now, I couldn't do anything. I can't even open a jar. My hands are a little bit crippled from psoriatic arthritis, but it doesn't stop me. It doesn't stop my whole body and my mouth and my head to work. But without him, I couldn't do it. So I want to give him thanks too.
You know what, Tzippy? You have left a legacy for all of us, not only for your children, but look at the legacy that you left after being abandoned in Germany with a little girl and a smile. And when we tell your story, with your permission, I want to show that picture of the smile that you had when you were.
I would love to, because that's the beginning. And you know what? Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because I am leaving the torch for the generations to come to change the world. So I thank you. When I met you, I was so honored to meet you and to know that we can do something like that. I'm blessed. There's nothing I can complain about. I'm a blessed human being. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for everything that you just say. I have chills and trying to stop the tears.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you coming. It was an honor having you, especially for Mother's Day.
Thank you.
To everyone, thank you so much. And above all, stay well and stay safe.
When are you going to show the picture?